Have you ever found yourself scrolling through social media, seeing someone with a fancy car or on a lavish vacation and thinking, I want that? It's a common feeling. That little whisper in your ear that says, more money would solve all your problems. It's a powerful idea, isn't it? The thought that with just a bit more cash, life would be easier, shinier, and definitely more fun. This desire is perfectly normal. We all want security and comfort. But sometimes, that simple want can morph into an insatiable hunger, a relentless pursuit of wealth that starts to overshadow everything else that truly matters in our lives. It's a slippery slope, and it often begins with that one tempting thought. The allure of quick wealth is like a magic show. It's flashy, it's exciting, and it promises the impossible right before your very eyes. We see stories of overnight millionaires, people who invested in some obscure cryptocurrency or started a viral business, and we think, why not me? This get-rich-quick mentality is incredibly seductive because it offers a shortcut past all the hard work, the long hours, and the patient saving that our parents always talked about. It taps into our deep-seated desire for an easier path, a lottery ticket that changes our reality in an instant. The promise of endless wealth feels like the ultimate freedom, a way to escape the daily grind and live a life without limits or worries. This powerful attraction can make people surprisingly blind to risk. When you're chasing a huge reward, the potential dangers can seem small and far away. It's like a gambler at a casino who, after a few wins, feels invincible. They start making bigger and riskier bets, convinced that their lucky streak will never end. This mindset isn't just for individuals, it happens in boardrooms too. Companies chase short-term profits, cutting corners on safety or environmental standards, believing that the immediate financial gain is worth any potential future consequence. They convince themselves they are too smart to fail, too clever to get caught, underestimating the heavy price that always comes due. The problem is that this obsession with short-term gains often means we ignore the long-term picture. We focus so intently on the next quarterly report or the next big payday that we forget to build something sustainable. It's like building a beautiful house on a foundation of sand. It might look impressive for a little while, but eventually the tide will come in and everything will come crashing down. This myopic focus on immediate gratification is a hallmark of greed. It prioritizes the now over the later, the self over the community, and the profit margin over people. And as history has shown us time and time again, that kind of thinking rarely leads to a happy ending for anyone involved. We've all seen the headlines about powerful people and massive companies that seemed untouchable, only to watch them fall spectacularly. Think about Enron, a company that was once a giant in the energy sector. Its executives were celebrated as geniuses. They cooked the books, hiding billions in debt while making the company look incredibly profitable. They were driven by pure, unadulterated greed, and for a while, it worked. They made themselves incredibly rich. But the lie became too big to sustain. When the truth finally came out, the company collapsed almost overnight, becoming a textbook example of corporate greed gone wrong and a cautionary tale for generations. The fallout from such a collapse is devastating, and it's never limited to just the people at the top. When Enron went bankrupt, thousands of ordinary employees lost their jobs, their savings, and their pensions. They had trusted the company, invested their lives and their futures in it, only to be left with nothing. Families were torn apart by the financial stress and the sudden loss of security. The ripple effect spread through the entire community of Houston, where the company was based. Local businesses that depended on Enron and its employees suffered, and the city felt the economic shock for years. This is the hidden cost of greed. It's paid by the innocent people caught in the wreckage. Another infamous story is that of Bernie Madoff. He ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history, defrauding thousands of investors out of billions of dollars. He promised his clients, many of whom were friends and charitable organizations, safe and steady returns. Instead, he was just using new investors' money to pay off the earlier ones. His greed wasn't just about money, it was about maintaining a facade of brilliance and success. He built a reputation as a Wall Street wizard, and people trusted him completely. That trust was his most powerful tool, and he used it to destroy lives without a second thought, all to fuel his own ego and lavish lifestyle. The consequences of Madoff's greed were tragic and deeply personal. People lost their life savings, their homes, and their hope for a comfortable retirement. Some of his victims were elderly, with no time to recover financially. The story even took a darker turn, as his son, overwhelmed by the shame and guilt of his father's actions, tragically took his own life. This shows how greed is not a victimless crime. It leaves a trail of human suffering that extends far beyond a bank account. It tears families apart, shatters communities, and leaves deep, lasting scars on society, reminding us that the pursuit of wealth at any cost ultimately costs us our humanity. Greed has a way of seeping into our relationships and corroding them from the inside out. It's like a poison that slowly dismantles the trust that holds people together. Think about it in a friendship. If you have a friend who is always trying to get something from you, who only calls when they need money or a favor, that relationship starts to feel very one-sided. You begin to question their motives. Do they actually care about you, or are they just using you for their own gain? This suspicion erodes the foundation of the friendship, creating distance and resentment where there was once affection and mutual respect. This breakdown of trust is even more damaging within a family. When greed enters the picture, siblings can turn on each other over an inheritance, or partners can hide financial secrets, creating a toxic environment of suspicion and betrayal. The conversations shift from love and support to arguments about money and assets. These conflicts can cause rifts that last a lifetime, tearing families apart over material possessions that will never replace the warmth of a loving connection. Money becomes more important than the people you are supposed to care about most, and the emotional cost of that choice is immeasurable, leaving everyone involved feeling isolated and hurt. In the professional world, greed is just as destructive. A workplace where everyone is only looking out for themselves, willing to step on colleagues to get a promotion or a bigger bonus, is a terrible place to be. Teamwork dies, and collaboration is replaced by backstabbing and office politics. Honesty and integrity are pushed aside in the race to get ahead. When people are dishonest to make a profit, whether it's lying to a client or cheating the company, they ruin their own reputations. Once you are known as someone who cannot be trusted, that label is incredibly hard to shake. It can cost you your job, your career, and the respect of your peers. Ultimately, trust is the currency of all healthy relationships, both personal and professional. It's the belief that others will act with fairness, honesty, and care. Greed directly attacks this trust. It encourages a mindset of me first, where the well-being of others is secondary to personal gain. This selfishness makes genuine connection impossible. It leads to broken promises, betrayed confidences, and ruined reputations. A life driven by greed is often a lonely one, because true, lasting relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect and integrity, qualities that greed systematically destroys. So, how do we protect ourselves from the pitfalls of greed? The first step is to redefine what it means to be successful. We need to shift our focus from simply accumulating wealth to building a life that is rich in other ways, full of strong relationships, meaningful experiences, and personal happiness. It's about finding a healthy balance. Money is a tool, a necessary one for living in the modern world, but it should not be the ultimate goal. When we make choices, we should ask ourselves not just, will this make me more money, but also, is this fair? Is this kind? Will this contribute positively to my community and my own well-being? Making ethical choices is crucial. This means being honest in our dealings, whether we are running a multinational corporation or just selling a used car online. It means valuing people over profits and considering the long-term impact of our actions on the planet and society. We can actively support this by choosing where we spend our money. When we support businesses that treat their employees fairly, that are transparent about their practices, and that give back to their communities, we are casting a vote for a better, more equitable world. Our consumer choices have power, and we can use that power to encourage more responsible behavior. We can also find greater fulfillment by looking beyond ourselves and contributing to the well-being of others. This doesn't necessarily mean donating large sums of money. It can be as simple as volunteering your time for a cause you care about, mentoring someone who is just starting their career, or simply being a supportive friend and neighbor. Acts of generosity and community involvement connect us to something larger than our own ambitions. They build a sense of shared purpose and remind us that we are all in this together. This kind of wealth, the richness of community and connection, is something that money can never buy. In the end, the pursuit of a good life is not about having the most, but about making the most of what we have in a way that benefits everyone. It's about building a legacy of integrity, kindness, and positive impact, not just a massive bank account. Let's encourage one another to seek a balanced life, where financial security goes hand in hand with emotional and social well-being. Let's champion honesty, support businesses that do the right thing, and build communities where people, not profits, are the most valuable asset. That is how we can create a world that is truly rich, in every sense of the word.